welcome everybody. It's your boy, the VSW Stoner. We're here with a very special episode of VSW podcast. Today, we have a returning guest, wrestling personality and actor, Michael Kevin Lovett.
Good
Welcome.
evening. Good evening. It's great to be back. Thank you so much.
I've been just following your posts because, you post a lot, but, a lot of good stuff is happening in your world right now. I feel like, the first time we talked, things were in motion. The last time we talked, they were out there, but now things are really starting to move and move.
Yes, sir. Totally. The association with Wild Things Steve Ray and the UWF, and both of our involvement in the film The Last Passage. It's yeah, yes, sir. It's really taken off. It's awesome. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience.
It really is. I'm seeing photos from that video, and I'm really waiting for it now myself to drop to, like, I heard it's going to be on Amazon at some point soon.
Coming to Prime probably within 6 weeks.
Yeah,
So
about 6 weeks. So I'm waiting patiently for that. But I did hear it's on some other platform. Maybe I can find, like, through the internet.
right, it's going on so many. I can't even remember all of them, but I think it was like 20 or 30 of them, like right off the bat. And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yes, sir. That's going to be a tremendous amount of exposure. And just the crossover with wrestling and the UWF and Wild Things Steve Bray, there are a tremendous amount of eyes on this. And it's just amazing.
It is. It's almost like a perfect placement. There's one thing to be like you said, it's one thing, you could be in a movie and you've been in a few films and stuff. But this one is kind of getting, into your other realm of the world, and that's the wrestling world. And it's kind of just all incorporated because you do have that kind of bond now with Stevie Ray, and you're doing this and that, and it's just like I said, you're getting that crossover. Like, and me as a fan of both movies and wrestling, I'm like super into it. I'm like, wow, he's in that. That's awesome. Like, that's great. I love seeing wrestlers in different roles because they're very versatile. People don't think that. People think wrestling, they just have this one character and that's all they can do. That might be all they're allowed to do or all they're contracted to do, but most wrestlers have like 3 or 4 different characters in their head that they can pull off and actually perform as, and just to see that versatile ability is just tremendous. But like I said, I saw that this is getting some press. I saw your IMDb rating going up.
Yes, sir.
You've
Thank
been
you.
working hard on that. You check mark now on Meta.
That's right. That's right.
How are those benefits? I've never went for the check mark on Meta because, well, for me it's kind of hard because they want me to prove that my name is Versace Stoner, and my license doesn't say, my license don't say that.
Right. You'd have to go and legally change it, and you'd have to jump through a lot of hoops to do that. But you're already known by that, so it would be.
It was hard enough for them to release payments to me because I had to like prove all these identities. But yeah, like but it's cool to see it because I like to see checkmark is so official. So when I got like friends on my page, I'm seeing the checkmark. I'm like, oh, they're official, they're important.
Right. It feels that way, but I still got a long ways to go. But every little bit of credibility helps. Being associated with Steve Ray and the UWF and the check mark and professional wrestling and film and having an IMDb page, all that. Yeah, every bit of that helps. Yes, sir.
It really does. And that's the thing, just kind of building that social media presence. So
Right,
people
right.
are seeing your posts, and you're trying to hit different algorithms, different times of the day, different people. Because some people, they scroll at night. Some people scroll in the morning. I even noticed, some people are online, between 5 and 7, and then you don't see them again until the next day at 5 a.m. and 7. Some people are night owls. Some people are on all day. So you
Right.
kind of, you have to spread things out a little bit.
Totally. I'm a 3 o'clock in the morning guy. That's me. Vampire. Totally.
I feel that, I've been waking up earlier and earlier. I think it's just so I get more me time, while everybody's still asleep. The wife, the kids, they're still sleeping. So I can kind of get up and do my own thing without,
Right.
questions. But those early hours sometimes are some of the best hours, man. I'll tell you, I get some of the greatest work done. 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. is nice. I too am kind of like a vampire. I don't really sleep too much. But yeah, It's just great, like I said, seeing this all to come together. When I was a kid, I used to watch. Obviously, I watched movies as well, and I would always get excited when I see things like Suburban here. Suburban Commando, where there'd be like a wrestling star in there. I mean, obviously that was Hulk Hogan, but over the years, other wrestlers would kind of hop in and out of Hollywood. It's kind of become synonymous with people like The Rock and Cena and all these other people getting into major roles now. But it's still just refreshing to see, hey, I know this guy in a movie, and now this movie's on Prime, and now it's no longer just some internet thing. It's on Prime. It's a real film. It's got real credits. People are getting actual credits for it. Um, it's exciting. But let me ask you something now. When did you guys film this film?
Oh, let's see. It was an ongoing process, but Steve and I, our scene was just a matter of months ago. Shot it out near Sparta, Tennessee, and one and done. We had tremendous chemistry and got it one take. The beauty, the funny part is we totally forgot our lines and we improv it, but they liked the chemistry so much that they kept it.
Now, did you know Stevie before this film?
Briefly, he had contacted me about the same time I started getting noticed by everybody else in film and professional wrestling. He was one of the guys that sent me a friend request and connected. And initially I was like, oh, come on, who the hell is this? Wild Thing Steve Bray sends me a friend request 3 o'clock in the morning out of nowhere. Who the hell is this?
Yeah,
But
yeah. What's going on here? But no, it was the real deal. And you
it
being a
was
UWF fan, it's like, oh wow.
right. And it's kind of that kind of gives you a little bit of validation, when you grew up watching them and then here you are working with them. It's it's really cool. But up until the point he showed up, I didn't really have validation that it was really him. And wondered who the heck was going to show up, at the shoot that day. But what happened there, the director, Miss Linda Lee, she had cast me as God, and she was having trouble casting somebody to fight to play Lucifer for me to fight against, so to speak. And initially I was going to pitch the idea of playing both, kind of like George Burns in what was it? Oh God, You Devil, that series
Yep,
of
yep,
films.
yep.
And but then boom, Steve Ray said, "Hey, I'm coming to Nashville. Find me some acting gigs." Bam, and he took the role, and the problem was solved.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's such a prestigious role, though. Again, casted as God. You're the
Right,
man himself, the power, all in your hands.
right.
Um, was
Well,
that like a different?
that was my ring entrance music, "The Touch" by Stan Bush. You got the touch, dun.
Did you find this to be a different role than some of your other films? Because your other one was about it was an army vet, right?
I'm sorry.
One of the other films I think we talked about it was about an army story. Was this like a different role for you, kind of going in as God?
This particular film company, Timeless Dreams Productions, that's actually uh under a different name this time, but it's the same connection. Um, Early in my film career, I was getting typecast as a heel, as a villain, and I'm cool with that. That's way better than like not finding work. Absolutely. But they wanted to go out of their way to find me some roles as a hero or as a good guy, as a babyface, and and then boom, here I am playing God. God
The
Almighty.
ultimate baby face.
Right, right.
Hey, you better be careful. You might even get WrestleMania credits now if they figure out God was you that year.
Oh, right, with what, the light coming down the aisle there.
Yeah, it could have been you now. And see, now people are gonna wonder.
Right. Probably gonna get sued now. But no I'm kidding.
Yeah, that could be the other. Hey, you get that little cease and desist. You're not God. We already copyrighted it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just crazy story though. Just kind of like I said, getting to work with a fellow wrestler and not even a fellow wrestler, it's something that you watch. Like, you grew up watching, something you enjoyed watching on television. Because you said you didn't like directly work with them on the scene.
Right. Let's see. I had worked with wrestlers in the film just once before, but I didn't know because I didn't recognize them on set. But one of my earliest films was titled "Another Version of You," and when I went back and looked at the IMDb page, when they got it up, I saw C.J. Perry and Rusev were in that, and then so yeah, I was on set with them and didn't even know it. She was uh she was dressed up nerdy in a suit with glasses, not using the Russian accent like she was on television. Just walked by her, hey, what's up? How you doing, sweetheart? Not even knowing who she was.
Yeah, just another actor and actress, on the set.
Right. It was CJ Perry. What was she called? Lana at the time. And so yeah, and of course it turns out, they were locals. They were living here locally at the time. And
So now, the film itself, what's it actually about? The Last Passage.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The film, The Last Passage. So, like, what's actually it about?
It's
is it
um
um is it a heavy religious film? Is it?
it's not like Hellfire and Brimstone, but it's about one man's redemption. He's been faithful, but he's kind of backslid a little bit, and he's has some addictions and some problems in life. But he's making his way back, back to the upper room, and so so yeah, it's faith based, but it's not like the Ten Commandments from back in the day or anything.
Yeah, yeah, nothing like that. But no, it sounds like a very, like I said, interesting movie. I've seen some of the shots that the stills you posted. Wow, that wherever you were filming that looked amazing.
It you
Um,
know it was actually just a green screen.
oh,
Um, with me and Steve Ray, and that red shot in the background where it's supposed to be hell, where we're having our little face to face there, and we've got screams in the background, fire burning and everything.
all
But
just
yeah,
Hollywood magic.
right. It was actually a very simple set, just that green screen magic, and I actually do a little bit of work on the other side of the camera in this, working on some of the effects and assistant directing and stuff like that. So I get some credits on the other side of the camera this time.
Oh, that's interesting. Is that something you kind of want to kind of pursue now? Getting in that is kind of maybe double rolling up, or maybe it's time to get into that area of the film
Right.
industry.
Well, from the beginning with these guys, with Timeless Dreams Productions and Miss Director Linda Lee, it's been that way from day one because they knew I had a degree in graphic design and film editing, and they wanted me to get in there and use some of those skills.
The double win, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I have to say, like, I mean, I'm a graphic designer. I do all that. I've, self-taught a lot of stuff in film. I've went to classes. Knowing
Right.
that stuff, it's stuff that's like to the average person, like, oh, cool. Well, they don't understand what it is. But when you find someone that like needs it or knows what it actually can do, the power, like, then it's like, oh shoot, they're like, hey, can I be your best friend? Come on over.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Absolutely. But
it's a lot of I think just graphic design in general, as a general basis, gets very underrated because we have these easy apps to create simple logos, and we have a lot of AI generative now. And we have a lot of even Photoshop has evolved to be very easy than it was maybe in 98,
right.
99, 2000. Um, but you still need to know principles of design, color, um, and you should still know how to draw. I feel to
A little
some
bit. It,
degree.
it helps a lot. Now, the uh, the smaller screen and the less great effects are actually starting to get a much larger audience than they used to. Like, for example, a film with a budget like this one, it wouldn't even get probably any attention from the bigger film companies back in the day. But because there is such a larger audience for the smaller screen now, there's all kinds of eyes on this thing now, and bigger film companies and the wrestling companies, and everybody's kind of watching this thing probably.
Kind of like the
Well,
wrestling. It's kind of like the wrestling industry in a way. Hollywood, 20, 30 years ago, knows all about big name, big things. But now, that indie scene is thriving, and it's the same with film. There's a lot of non-Hollywood producing, companies out there producing great films every year and winning awards, and that whole scene is just very vibrant. Like I watch a lot of horror films, and a lot of them aren't major films because major film companies won't touch this, or they don't want to deal with that, or it's too harsh for their audience, whatever it might be. But that whole other, you don't have to work for this big ass company to have a successful film at all anymore.
Right.
Which is nice. And there is that audience for that kind of, I want to see the acting. I want to see, the story. I don't necessarily need to see effect after effect after effect after, money blowing effect.
Absolutely. Now, being on the other side of the camera in this one, and handling some of the work with that, it's actually a benefit for the people to think the same way, that we don't need to edit and edit and edit and effect after effect after effect, and just try to let it happen naturally, which is what I prefer anyway.
Yeah, I mean, as much as everybody likes an action-packed blockbuster where you got an explosion and every 2 seconds a slow-mo and stuff, it's fine for what it is, but it's a very kind of niche audience, and it's kind of a very niche situation. Like I can't watch that kind of movie, before bed. But Last Pass, it sounds like something I could throw on any time of day. If I want to kind of chill at night, I can throw it on. If I want to kind of just, put it on in the background and do some editing of my own, I can. If I want to sit there and watch it with my wife, I can. It sounds something versatile.
Well, Steve Ray's scene is a little bit intense. He gets a little intense as Lucifer when he's chasing that poor fellow's soul. But it's nothing that's going to give you nightmares.
No, no, no. I'm sure. I'm sure. And like like I said, I've talked to him briefly. I actually did reach out to him. I'll be honest, because I've been seeing a lot of the posts. I see you guys tugging at the belt, and it'd just be cool, I think, to have him come on as well and say, hey, been in this movie. Let's get even more eyes and ears. He kind of reached back to me last night. He said something like, "I would love to do your show, but I don't know your name." And I'm thinking, "You don't know my name?" And I'm like, because he messaged me. We messaged through TikTok, which my TikTok account is totally non-different from Versace Stoner. It's totally something totally different. It was a little avenue I went down a couple of years, like 2 years ago. I was playing around with algorithms, and I realized that a flat Earth algorithm was growing lots and lots and lots of traffic. So if you just did a hashtag something, a flat Earth, and said, "Hey, the Earth is either round or flat," it didn't matter which way you went. It started to get massive traffic. All of a sudden videos were turning into millions, and they were like throwing me contracts to sell stuff. And so I stuck with it. Kind of played it up and made memes and whatever it was, and made a nice little parody account. But so he hit me on that, and so I'm like, "Oh, you don't know who I am? That's right. I'm on a totally different name." I was like, "Okay, here's all my other stuff. Get back to me." So hopefully I
Right.
can have him on soon, because that would
I
be,
would
I
love
think,
that.
a lot of fun as well.
Oh, I would love that. That would be awesome to double team it, tag team it. Now, he's a little bit of a tough shell to crack to get to know him personally initially. And a lot of the guys who've been there, they're kind of like that. But once you get to know him, he's cool. He's a goofball. He's like a brother. So just a matter of you getting him to bring his guard down just a little bit.
Just enough to say, "Hey, you're cool, man," and it's like,
Right.
okay, yeah, we can kind of chill. But I could see that. I could see that, and like I said, he's a wrestling legend. I mean, people know him as a wrestler now. People know him as in movies.
Right. I
Um,
mean, he was going to be the man in the UWF before he decided he wanted to be a Family Guy more and walked away.
and you can't knock that though. I mean, there's been people that have done that. Like I was just reading a story, about Rick Moranis, top Hollywood dude, lost his wife. He decided to give it all up so he could stay full-time dad. You have to commend that. You can't knock that.
Absolutely. There's not a lot of guys that would do that. Most people would probably take the fame and the fortune and the money. And so yeah, you gotta put these guys over for that.
And I mean the people that do take the fame and fortune, you can't knock them either. I get it; they might have a dream, but everybody's different. But I always feel, for the people that family first and kind of just grasp at those, well, I'd say traditional values there. I'll use one of your words, traditional values.
Ah, very
Um,
good, very good. It's trademark. You can't. No, I'm kidding.
but yeah, I think like I don't know, as your career has progressed now into the movie industry, do you feel kind of like hopping back into the ring at any time to kind of like cross promote the film or to get back into that scene, or is wrestling kind of just where it is and stays now?
As far as in the ring, at 47 years old and with spinal problems that I didn't even know of when I was, doing it when I was younger. Scoliosis and the twisted spine and, everything else. I would have to do some soul searching. I would really have to do some soul searching about. Now, as far as like being a general manager or,
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like kind of like, just being ringside or being present at a show or working a show.
oh, I would love to do that. And me and Steve are already discussing that, as far as, doing things like that if the UWF thing, gets going. And well, that's my first, passion was, in front of the camera as a performer. But
Now, were you starting the UWF stuff before you met Stevie Ray, or was that kind of what inspired the whole thing?
that was I think he had come to me and connected and told me what was going on and asked me if I wanted to get involved. And um, then he found out that I had the skills and the connections with the film industry, and then it just kind of grew. So yeah.
That's good because last we talked, you were curator of belts. You were still holding on to that.
Right, and he's giving me new titles all the time, new working titles, business titles, and that's kind of cool.
And was he so like does he actually like have some of the I guess like the archives of UWF?
I believe so. Don't quote me. 'Cause I don't know the legal status of
Yeah.
uh of everything. I don't want to say something, put my foot in my mouth, and get a cease and desist from somebody. but but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering because sometimes I'll see like you'll post old photos and they'll be really cool, and it's like I've never seen those, throughout the internet. So someone's like, you must be getting them somewhere from someplace that actually had the photos. They're not, just
A
found on
lot
the
of it.
internet, copied and pasted. They're very well taken photos, is what I mean. You know
Gotcha.
what I
A
mean?
lot of it is screenshotted from and just using those filters on social media. You can make stuff look a lot better that way. Um, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of ways to make things, stuff look presentable and new and fresh. And of course, having the degree and a little experience in photography, that helps as well.
Yeah, you can. I mean, only just with three filters, you can change the whole photo and
Right.
make something just go. But I mean, you do have to wonder, had Stevie Ray not left, the UWF, and had he stayed wrestling, even after UWF's demise, he probably would have been picked up by, WWF, well now, or WCW at the time.
Absolutely. I'm sure he was on everybody's radar because the charisma was unbelievable, and he was getting extremely good in the ring, and I mean, he was going to be the world champion in the UWF, as far as I know. So,
And I
um,
mean, I'm only like learning and seeing things hindsight, just because at the time I didn't really have a lot of access to UWF. Being up here in the Northeast, we just kind of got blocked from that. We just got WWF. We could get WCW, but I don't remember personally being able to get UWF until maybe like I saw bits and pieces of it, but by that time I don't think I had the black box and I wasn't paying for pay-per-views. There was a whole
right,
scheme back then with pay-per-views. We didn't have to pay much. We had a nice box. So everybody would come to my house. We'd have like, 10, 15 people coming over because WrestleMania is $50.
right. You ain't
SummerSlam
kidding.
$50. So people, especially when wrestling got to every month and it was $50. And I was like, in your house, I think it was. Everybody was just like, everybody. It just felt like
Right.
every month people were just coming over to party.
Right. I
But yeah,
think
you
In
know,
Your House started at 1995. I think it was cheap when it started, but or 29.95, some kind of low price. But then they switched from the In Your House format, and every monthly pay per view was an individual, and then the price went right back through the roof.
and
So
even at $30, even if it was $30 back then, it felt like 50. Because 30, you could do so much with back then. You could fill your car, go out to eat. You know, you could do a bunch of things with $30 back in the day.
no
Um,
kidding, now you can't even get a week's worth of groceries.
I can't even get gas. I can't fill my tank for 30. And then never mind eating 30. My kids spent 30 the other day at McDonald's. And it was just, a happy
Right.
meal and like a drink. And my wife got fries and like $28. I'm like,
Right.
what?
Right. I'm glad I don't have to date anymore. That's for sure. You know.
The date, I couldn't even imagine the date. And I'd be like, and even eating at home isn't cheap because then you got to go grocery shopping and that they
No,
get you there.
you're right. You're right. You're right. It's just unbelievable the way the world has changed.
It has, it has. But like I said, some things are staying consistent and some things like movies do. And I think, movies is another, way to inspire people and get people motivated and I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say. Like I watched a film a while back. It's called Kill City Cop. My friend Luke did it. He made a film down in Florida. It's a he made like a wrestling tournament. It's Mortal Kombat times wrestling times
Nice.
sci-fi. It's very campy, classic, funny, silly, but also it's well produced and it's well done. You can tell it's a film. And I watched it for the first time last year. He put it out on YouTube. It's free and I just fell in love with them. Like, and it inspired me to do more. Do more with my own show, get more guests, do more things, have more fun. Add more production value to my own show.
Right.
Uh,
Right. It's uh, it's definitely easier to get your stuff out now than it used to be because of technology. Um, Definitely easier to get your name in the hat, but it is still a very, 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 very competitive industry.
oh, the film industry in itself, I find it is because where there's ease of access is great, but where there's ease of access is also going to be a lot more people. And
Competition.
so, if you have an open, if you have, let's say, open auditions every day, that's great. We're getting a lot of, there's a lot of chances to get in there. But now everybody's going, the people that were working before Monday through Friday, and could only go on Saturdays are now going, Monday through Friday. And everybody's
Right.
going. And
Right.
so you got more competition. So it becomes, more harder to get in there. But like you said, you've had your foot in the door. You've been in there now for a while. Do you actively look for roles? Do you sit there like and say, I'm looking. I don't know where. I mean, I don't know where actors would look. I know I've seen Facebook posts that say we're looking for actors, but I don't know where actors would actually go. But do you like look for actor posts?
Facebook pages, there's acting pages for the cities, the local cities, like, Nashville has an acting page. Atlanta has acting pages, and a lot of the directors, particularly the film students that don't have a big budget for actors, they look to fill roles on there. And but anymore, I have enough out there to where my face is out there, and by the grace of God, like every eye in the industry is on me right now with the stuff that's going on. So it's not something where I have to go out there and like desperately look for acting gigs or anything. Um, Anymore, they start to look for me. Even now, I have more stuff coming with director Linda Lee and Timeless Dreams Productions. Hopefully involving my wrestling guys too, because I love co-branding that. I think it's a tremendous way to grow the audience of the film. And
She
but
sounds like
yeah,
another wonderful person. I love to get her on the show too. I like getting different personalities just besides wrestlers. Because like the entertainment business is what it is, but wrestling's all to me. Wrestling falls under that. I know
well,
people they separate sports entertainment and wrestling. To me, wrestling is wrestling, yes, but it's a form of entertainment. I wouldn't call it sports entertainment, but it's a form of entertainment. I go to get entertained. Um, and with that comes a production and a film crew and all this all the same things you need to make a movie, you need to put on in a wrestling show.
Absolutely. You have to have the lighting, you have to have the cameras, you have to have the editing skills. You got to have directors, producers, grips, you know.
People need to know how to act. They need to know how to cut a promo and talk. They need to know how to do all those things.
You got to
Um,
know what you can get away with on certain networks that you maybe can't get away with on other networks, you know. And a lot of people have a lot of trouble with that, apparently. Um,
it can happen. I mean, even I mean, we did a show a couple of years ago, and it got into public access TV. But we had to make sure, there was no language whatsoever, and the violence was at a minimum. There could be no death matches or no hardcore matches. Everything had to be cut clean. But they would show the wrestling on TV if it was that way. So I mean, like you said, every network has their own kind of set of rules what you can kind of do get away with.
right. Years ago, I remember they could get away with a lot more on Raw than they could on, say, Heat or SmackDown or, you know, in any of the B shows that were like on the Saturday or Sunday morning. I remember that.
I think because they figured, the Saturday and Sunday morning were for kids like
Right.
cartoons. The kids are going to be watching this. And Raw, well, Raw always was first it was the 8 to 10 spot, but then went later. It was always that later kind of in the night kind of a wrestling thing. So I think they kind of considered that to be their prime time show and they could get away with a little bit more. Because even back in the day, I remember like prime time on Saturday night was a little bit more edgy than whatever else they were showing. Bobby the Brain was a little bit more edgier.
Right. With the Saturday night's main event that I believe maybe for a time it was once a month. Uh it was going in the Saturday Night Live spot, correct? It was going over Saturday Night Live on NBC.
Yeah.
I remember that now. So yeah, that was a late night spot.
And the things I remember as a kid, some people remember this and that. I remember, flicking channels late at night and seeing Bobby the Brain on and saying, "Hey, this is my guy. Let me check it out."
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I love Bobby the Brain Heenan, man. He was
one
the
of them
best.
cool memories. But yeah, like I said, wrestling's been with me, probably throughout my whole life. This has been something that grabbed me as a kid. Um, I don't know if it can do that today. I don't know if it has the power to do that. I don't know if they have strong enough characters to do that. We have people like Hulk Hogan, and people hate him today. And wrestling has got intertwined with wrestling in their real lives, so that's another problem. Because as a kid, you didn't know what they did outside the ring unless you had some kind of special access or whatever. But as a
Right.
kid, being whatever age and being a guy, and you see Hulk Hogan, you hear that American, and that his music drops, it got you amped. You fell in love with this kind of stuff. These are the people that kind of pulled you in, grabbed you in, and it just stuck with you. And then, as whatever wrestling direction it kind of went, you kind of just go with it. Even if you went against the grain a little bit, you'd still kind of weave back to it. We have
Right.
great wrestlers today, but I don't know if I would consider them iconic.
No, I agree. It's been a long time since we've had an iconic character. Now, a lot of that is probably because the curtain is down so much now. And you know, the person on the street is much different than the person in the ring a lot of the time. But you know, back in the day, if you met the Ultimate Warrior, you were talking to the Ultimate Warrior. If you met Hulk Hogan, you were talking to Hulk Hogan. Um, and they didn't step so far out. I mean, they did some. Uh, I met Mick Foley as Cactus Jack at the YMCA in Donaldson, Tennessee. He was with the Dynamic Dudes. I think it was 1989, 1990, and they were there. And I expect him to be this maniac, you know. But yeah, I was probably 12 or 13. I asked him for an autograph. He was a little shy. He said, "Yes, sir." didn't didn't see that
Eh,
coming.
but I mean that's the thing, sometimes it's easier to be. Sometimes it's easier to be in front of thousands or 10,000 or 100,000 people performing than it is to talk to just one person one on one.
Right, right. You can get lost in the crowd too, and you're not. It's not one on one as much as it is. You know, you're working everybody. So
And I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. I got to meet Mick in he came to GCW a couple years ago. Very humble guy, very nice dude. You know, he
Yes, he
seemed
was.
like he knows. I mean, obviously it's Mick Foley's, but if you never watched wrestling, you didn't know anything about him, you didn't know who he was, and you lived under a rock, and you came and you saw the guy and you said hi, and he said hi back, you would have no idea that he's the hardcore legend that he is.
Right.
He was very nice, you know, well spoken. You know, he was even going behind the kind of you know, at these meet and greets they have someone that kind of is taking the door. He was going behind their back and seeing people signing stuff, doing things, you know, for free because he didn't really want to be sitting there charging $100 or whatever they were charging for his autograph. You know, some of these wrestlers like they're like, I've made my money in wrestling. I can give back now. It's fine.
Right. Um,
Um,
I would love to be able to make some money doing that, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting
you are getting there. I mean, I think you're starting to get fame, and with that's going to come, you know, the noticing. Like you said, people are already noticing your films. Do people notice you when you go out in public?
They do, but it's not that run up to me and ask for an autograph. It's that they kind of stare at me from 100 feet away like Michael Myers at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, they recognize me, but they're not really sure where from.
They're like, oh, is that the guy that killed his wife in the town?
No, that was in a movie, man. Well, it wasn't real.
No, oh, maybe they're like, is that God?
Right, that's what it is. It's ticking at their heart, man. It's pulling at their heart. They got to repent. It's the hair and the beard.
But you are at the point where people are like, that's somebody. We just don't know what
Right.
yet. That's
Well,
good though. That's a good place to kind of be. I mean, I think honestly, when it hits Prime is a great platform. A lot
yes,
of people watch. A lot of people have Amazon. Um, it's easy to share. It's easy to kind of share the links. It's easy to get it out there. It's free if you have it. I think once that hits, I think people can be like, oh, hey, that's that dude from that film. That's that dude from that movie. He played God.
right, and that's that guy from the UWF. So,
And that's the other thing too, you know. And if you get a reboot with that and that starts to really take off, all the movies will get rewatched, and then all the wrestling gets watched, vice versa. Wherever they find you first will get watched.
right, and I was a little concerned about the negative press with the history of the UWF, but then I thought to myself, like we talked about, well, that's going on everywhere in the workplace now. So,
I mean, yeah, if you came to me and said this right after the Dark Side of the Ring episode, I might have said to you, you might want to wait on that a little bit.
right,
But you know what? I mean, after what they said about Vince McMahon, after what they've said about others, it's like whatever he was doing, at least he was for the industry. There's nobody coming out saying, hey, he harassed me. He might have been wild, he might have been crazy, he might have been into whatever he was into, but it didn't seem to affect people like these other people have affected people.
right. He had some demons. He had some, habits, but it wasn't
It wasn't affecting anybody else. Anybody that he was with, it seemed to say it was consensual partying. Nobody said, "Oh, he kidnapped and forced me to party with him for days on end." It's like, no, we partied
right,
with Herb,
right,
and I
right,
think that's the difference. You can be a party animal, you can have your demons and vices, and still be a decent person.
right. And people have those vices. It's again, it's all around us now in the world, in the workplace. People are doing what they have to do to get through the day. Um, I
People do
work
what they got
alone.
to do to stay awake. People do what they got to do to go to sleep. People do what they got to do to move. People do what they do. It is part of the workplace. You know, substances, everything. And even, you know, like you said, some of the harassment is almost kind of normality now to hear about things that happen in workplace environments. Um, but again, there's been a lot worse stuff being exposed now from much bigger fish than Herb, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe Herb wasn't the bad guy that we all thought he was.
Right. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. So I mean, it's like sands of the hourglass.
Ted Turner's looking squeaky clean.
A little bit, a little bit. White as snow or something else. No, I'm kidding.
But I mean, hey, what are you gonna do? I mean, you had him, Paul. Paul, people of Philly loved Paul the other night, and he's still loved out there. And seeing that and the whole ECW tribute and stuff, that was pretty powerful. I was a big ECW fan.
Yeah, I like ECW as well. I got to meet just a few of those guys. Sabu, he came to Tennessee. He was at an event that I was at, and so yeah, there's some good memories there too.
But so like you said, you got some movies in the works. You got some things happening here. Hopefully, they're gonna well, I wouldn't call sequels, but you got other movies looking down the line to do in film and parts and roles. Now are all these roles? Are you like minor roles? Are you head star in any of the roles at this point?
And in most of them, it's not just like an extra in the background like it used to be. It's a significant role. Like in the fantasy film Enchantress by Linda Lee and Dreams Productions, I play one of the main villains. One of the main heels, a wizard, bad guy, warlock, chasing this little girl for her magical powers. Like a bad guy stalker, weird. So that's easy for me. I got the hair, I got the beard. So yeah, that works real good for me.
So
And
you're starting to definitely get better roles than you when you originally initiated started, and now you're kind of getting these memorable pieces. Like you said, people are gonna remember you maybe as this scary character, or remember you as God against Stevie Ray. That will probably be remembered because that's gonna be iconic. I can't wait to see that scene. To be honest with you, now I'm like, I wish Prime would hurry up because they need to show that. But that's like I said, great to hear. I love seeing people succeed, especially in something that they want to do, have been trying to do, have been doing. Because it's not all the time overnight success, and some people aren't just I'm in and I'm in. Sometimes it takes time. You have to work it. Like you said, you got to work the social media. You got to keep that rolling. Especially with more, you know, I find with more fame or more followers, then you're kind of expected to do a little bit more too socially. People
right,
want to see you post more. They want to see more, whatever it is that you do. They want to see more of it. And if you stop doing
right,
it, then like the algorithm starts going wonky, and they're like, "Well, maybe you don't deserve all these people."
right. Well, I mean, all I wanted was a last run, and all this other stuff is extra credit. And now I can't go home and retire, because I got all this stuff going on. But hey, that's cool.
It's a hell of a last run. It's a new beginning.
It is, and I never, ever, ever expected it, to get this far. But I landed my agent, and he's been incredible, and um, every eye in the world is on me with film and wrestling, and uh, I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, we need to get that guy or stop that guy. But that's cool.
And it is though, and I think a lot of people see the UWF and are like, "Wow," because not a lot of people are talking about that. No one
Yeah,
talks about it up here. Nobody. People talked a little bit about it during the dark side, and then people started to do research on it, and people were able to, some people knew about it, some people had footage of it, some people had it and forgot about it. Because it wasn't such a long term thing; it was kind of short lived, unfortunately. And so, with that came people, bringing back footage and showing matches, and some people had old VHSs, and some people had old video, and all this, relics and stuff came out of the woodwork.
right. I have a couple of the old VHSs. It's lumberjack match and tag team tandems, and Steve has signed both of them. So
Well, that's
those
awesome.
those are out in the man cave right now. And again, just working with him is going to be an experience I'll never forget.
Now, let me ask you: do you have a VCR to watch them?
I do, but I also have a bootleg as hell DVD version. So the I paid for the other one, so I'm good. But
Yeah, yeah. No, no. I just asked because I was stunned the other day. I honestly was because I I won some video cassettes in an auction. So they came to my house and whatever, and I was like, I don't have a VCR. Let me go buy one. I don't know what I was thinking, but they're the same price as they were when they came out. They haven't changed.
Right, right.
DVD players, $50.
You ain't kidding.
VCR, 350. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, Panasonic VCR, 350. I'm like,
Right.
huh?
Bro,
What?
I used to stay like a generation behind in gaming just because of that. I was on like an Xbox when the 360 was out. I was on PlayStation when
Oh,
PlayStation
games, forget
was out
about it. They're at $106 a pop now.
for the games.
Yeah, one Xbox game. My kid wanted, he wanted the Ultimate Edition. It was like $110.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Forget it. Well, maybe it's a good thing that I graduated from gaming then because I can't afford that yet. Yet anyway.
I need to retire from gaming because it's killing my wallet.
Gotcha. Yeah, I checked out. Once the problems started plaguing the game systems, like with Red Ring of Death, what was it? Or
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was out at that because it would break down like every 2 weeks. It wasn't fun anymore. I was
And
almost in a wrestling game not long ago. That would have been fun, but they canceled that one.
which one was it? Which one was it?
It was Indie Pro 22. I was
Okay,
going to
yeah.
be in that one, and then the I think the developer got overwhelmed by himself, and then they pulled the plug. But hey, I still had the artwork. They still did the title screen for me.
Yeah,
So
I mean, because I remember seeing stuff for that game. There was another game that was supposed to have just like every indie wrestler in the book, and I don't think that ever got out any which way. But hey, you made it to the card world. I have your trading card. Oh, your game card.
oh right, the Super Jaw
Superjaw. I
trading
don't see
card
them.
game.
I don't see people talking too much about it out here anymore. But for a while, people were actually playing it.
They were, and they were buying my card. So apparently, you could do really cool things with it, and they were like unique powers, strictly to that one because it was the first general manager card. So and that was directly related to me at the time being the general manager out at Great South Wrestling Federation in Dunlap, Tennessee. So yeah, it was all connected, and that was really cool too.
Yeah, it is. I'm a big fan of that kind of media, whether it be cards, magazines. I'm seeing. Well, I came back with the magazine. I came out with a magazine issue myself in December. It had like some awards and stuff, but I've also noticed some other promotions coming out with periodic magazines, and I'm just such a big fan of that
Nice.
kind of medium.
Right.
Seeing
I used
wrestling,
to have it used to have a huge amount of magazines. Wrestling Insider, who was it? Bill Apter, George Napolitano, all those guys. Who were all the fake guys? Eddie Elner, Stu Sachs, all them guys.
oh yeah,
I had a
magazines
huge
where it's at. That's how I learned wrestling from other regions because, like I said, we didn't have the way there was no national wrestling anywhere except WWE
right.
was shown on pay-per-view, but I didn't know how to watch the NWA. I didn't know how to get into all these other promotions, or especially Japan too. So I'd get that
That's
PWI,
right.
I'd rip through it, I'd go through it and see everybody. I'd see all the local events, who's wrestling in Tennessee, who's wrestling over here, who's wrestling in Michigan.
Right. Forget it. To get that back then, you would have had to have satellite TV. Um, and then to know the channels that it was broadcast on.
And
But
the wrestling would have to be actually broadcast. A lot of people weren't broadcasting their
right,
shows.
let's see. Indie wrestling here, of course, Tennessee. We got Memphis. We got which was the CWA and then the USWA. Um, we got the AWA on ESPN for a time. We got World Class. Um, when Burt Prentice was promoting, he had a couple of NWA promotions. Music City Wrestling. He was a local guy. He ran shows here at the fairgrounds. Fairgrounds are gone now. It's a racetrack there now. But no, it's not. It's not. The racetrack's gone too. It is a soccer stadium.
Oh wow.
Wrestling was replaced by a soccer stadium.
Who would think?
Well,
Honestly.
there's a huge Hispanic population here, and that's probably the reason. But
Oh, that's their most dominant sport. Yeah, definitely
but
then.
right. I think they tried to have one wrestling event. Wait, Ric Flair's last match. Well, Ric Flair's third, 12th, whatever last match. One of
Was
them
that over there?
was held at that new Fairgrounds arena, I
Not
think.
bad, not bad, not bad. But yeah, piece of history gone. But hey, you were part of it. You got to see it anyways.
I used to go there all the time. Everybody was coming through there. Rock was there when I started going. He was wrestling as Flex Cavana. Who the hell? But yeah, he was there. Kane was there as I think Doomsday. Sid came through there. Hulk Hogan came through there. Anybody who became anybody at one time, performed at the Nashville Fairgrounds. I regret that I never got to do it there, but I
But
was on an
still, what a
episode.
thing to witness! What a thing to witness! Like I said, you don't get that opportunity now because everybody's either. Well, I mean, those are the legends you mentioned. Those iconic wrestlers, icons. You got wrestlers that get out there, but they're not the icons that, like you said, they once were. And
Um,
and that's the thing. I mean, you can watch somebody come up now and get to the next level, and that's great. But there's some kind of an aspect missing. Like I said, they're not this larger than life character. And I think 99% of it has to do with just that the kayfabe in the world is gone. You know
you're
who the real
right,
person is. You know that there's no mystique about what they do. That they have a second job. Whatever it is that So it's like Sergeant Slaughter is not a real sergeant. Oh shit! Like
right,
it's just it, it becomes this very, well, they're
right.
also a great pro wrestler. Where before it
Well,
was like they're a pro wrestler. That's what they do for a living. He's really, when I was a kid, Duke the Dumpster was a real trash man wrestler. Like I didn't know there was no
right,
such thing. I thought that's just what a trash man wrestler was. Like I thought that was a real job. I don't know.
right. Well, one of the benefits I have is the double life of the acting and the wrestling, even though it's not like an A-list level. There's still the audience that sees, hey, there's that guy that does the wrestling thing and the acting thing. It's kind of cool. And but like when I was a kid growing up, there's Hulk Hogan. He's on Rocky. He's on Honey Nut Cheerios. He's on the A Team. He's got his own Saturday morning cartoon and that pop culture, and just seeing it everywhere and in the grocery store and in the old Toys R Us that nobody even probably knows what it is right now. But that was the stuff, man. That was the stuff, and that's what I miss is the inclusion everywhere. On television, on the Love Boat, on the talk shows. And by the way, anybody out there, I'd love to be involved in any of that. If I give myself a cheap plug.
Now you're gonna start getting Love Boat reboot hit ups.
Bruce Jenner, let's bring him in. Caitlyn Jenner, we'll get him back on there. He was on that episode with Hogan.
Listen, what you really need is a pro wrestling Gilligan's Island.
That would be
That's
sweet.
that's what needs to happen. Okay, everybody on the boat and just see who can do what.
I would love
Um,
to do that.
but it was that there was a lot of cross, and yes, you get some of that today, I guess, with like The Rock and you'll see Senior in a movie, but I feel like and I could be wrong. Those guys are known for duality. They're known for their wrestling, but they're also known for their movies. So there's people that just know them from movies. They don't even watch wrestling, but they know, The Rock from whatever he is, Jumanji, or whatever it was that he played. They know Cena from whatever movie that's on Netflix, but they have no idea about the wrestling aspect. Whereas Hogan coming on something, everybody knew that he was already a pro wrestler. So it was like a pro wrestler crossing over. It was a multi-universe. When you saw him in Rocky, it was unreal. You're like, what? What is going on here? Wait a minute, he's Thunder Lips? Who's this? Like everything was different.
It was that snowball. It was that snowball effect, and it turned into an avalanche during that era, and it was amazing. And, it's I don't know if we'll ever live that again on that level, but it was a marvelous time to be a wrestling fan, and a marvelous time to grow up. And and experience it all.
Definitely, most definitely. And let me just ask you, so people at home, in case they don't know where they can find you, where can they find you on the internet?
Oh, well, if you just Google my full name, Michael Kevin Lovett, it should bring up most everything. But I'm on Hulu, I'm on Tubi, I'm on most of the streaming networks, YouTube, Prime. Um,
So if I go to Tubi and type your name, can I one of your movies might pop up?
I think there's at least one or two that do pop up there. So it's just if you, I mean, nobody else has my full name, So Michael Kevin Lovett. Again, who the hell? So yeah, just Google my name, you'll find me.
Well, at least you got only you don't have to fight anybody else for credits.
Right, I've never had to do well. Actually, there is a Mike Lovett on IMDb. He was in Magnum Force. It was like an old. He's probably dead now, but it was like an old Eastwood movie. So so yeah, that's one I did come across there. I think he was in Magnum Force, which is odd because my dad loves that movie. He still has it. He still watches it. I see that my name in the credits there.
Maybe that's how you got your name.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. That would be odd. I'm a time traveler. Time traveler, you're not supposed to be here.
Now, I honestly, like I said, I can't wait. I'm very excited to see all these, like I said, this movie coming up and just whatever else you put out there. I mean, it's highly entertaining and, like I said, just a lot
Thank
of
you.
fun. And I do
Thank
thank you for
you.
taking the time coming on and, catching up. It's always been a pleasure. You've been one of those guests I just always like to check in on because there's always something fun going on.
Ditto, sir. Absolutely. It's always a pleasure. No doubt. Thank you so much.
Thank you and have yourself a great night.
You, sir. I'll see you next time.
Definitely. And everybody at home, thank you as well. And you too have a good night. And make sure to check out some good new flicks, right? Go on Tubi
Absolutely.
and check out what's going to come on Prime, The Last Passage, because it's going to be something special. Have yourself
Yes,
a good night.
yes.
And as always, support indie
Bye-bye.
wrestling. Versace Stoner out.